Welcome back to yet another 2GOZ Garage video. Today we have an exciting video. We're going to be prepping the Skyline, getting the last bits done and together. So I'm going to show you guys all the parts. We got everything in stock. We got everything in. We got this is the pipe for the wastegate. We got the 90-degree elbow. And then we got the gaskets and stuff. This is the brand new gauge. This is the air fuel wideband. Over here we have the Nistune. We have the little Nistune chip for the ECU. We will not be installing that. The tuner will be doing that. You can see this is the one here. That's gonna go inside of the stock ECU so he can be able to tune it. And over here we have the fuel pump, 450 fuel pump. Gotta install that one as well. It's supposed to be a Warbro, but it's T1 Automotive. Warbro supposedly, I don't know if that's like they linked up together or something, but T1 Automotive. The Warbro 450 fuel pumps are not in stock and they're on back order until next year, February. So we're just gonna go ahead and install this one and it should work for us for now. So we got to install the fuel pump, the wastegate pipe, the wideband, and then also the boost gauge. I'm gonna go ahead and jump on the fuel pump. Get this fuel pump out the way. Gotta take the other one out again and then see what we gotta do to put this one in. If you guys remember from the other video, it's pretty simple to take out. Really easy, especially on this car because it's gutted. The fuel pump is right in here. So as you guys can see, after you take off this little metal cover, it covers the plug for the wires. Take off this plate and then you slide it right up and you'll see there's the tank. Fuel pump's right inside of there. So you gotta get those, I think those are 8mm. All these bolts all around, take them all off. And then you gotta take off these hoses, these two clamps, and set them aside and then put them back on. So here's the fuel pump. You can see it's full of fuel, so I'm gonna take it out of the car now. So I didn't show you guys none of it, but I did disconnect these wires, pulled right off. So the connection was not the best actually. Go ahead and slide the bottom out. It's like a little slip-on technique. Loosen up this clamp, and then it should slide right off. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the original filter because that's the one that works with the grommet on the bottom to hold the pump in place. Gonna slide this rubber piece off so we can put our hose on. I got an E85 compatible hose. So as you guys can see, got the hose on. It was really hard, really tight to get it on here, but got it done. I'm gonna put this clamp on, tighten it down, slide the other clamp on this, and slide it into the one on the assembly. Got the pump on, and I got the clamps, the hose, everything's cooked up. So now I gotta do the wiring. And you can see I got the stock original bottom rubber grommet to hold it in place and lined up. Looks perfect. Alright, this thing's ready to go back in. Looking good. Zip tied the wire up here, that way it's not dangling. You don't get full of the gas. Should be alright. So let's put this thing back in.
I did just lock.
Got the pump in, gonna put the cover on, plug it back in, and then we'll be done installing the pump. Alright, so I hook up the battery just so you can turn the key on, test the pump. Go ahead and turn the key. Yep, we got fuel. It is currently the next day. Today should be a pretty exciting day. I'm just gonna include all this in one video. So today we're gonna be taking the Skyline to go and get tuned. So while the tuner is working on the NIS tune and on the CPU, putting that chip on, and he also has to do the translator to delete the mass airflow sensor, that's gonna give me time to do the rest of the stuff that I gotta do. We gotta finish hooking up the wideband, finish hooking up the wastegate pipe, and I think that's it. Yeah. Besides that, that's everything. I'm gonna load this thing on trailer, head that way, and then I'll update you guys as we go along, get over there. And yeah, see you guys in a bit. As you guys can see, we have arrived. We have a ton of work to do on the Skyline, so we gotta get busy and start doing that wideband. So we got wire, we got the wideband. We're gonna put the gauge over here. It came with like those gauge pods. That was originally a AC vent, but we're gonna use probably the 2-side ones. Move this one to the side and just leave the middle one open. We'll see. But we gotta run that wire, hook up the gauge. Alright, so as you can see, I ended up having to take off the whole under panel. And I got my positive and negative wire coming to the gauge. The blue wire is gonna be my ground, so I gotta find a ground somewhere under here to connect that to. And then positive is gonna go to one of the fuses that comes on with the ignition, just like how I wired up the electric fans. So it should be pretty simple. And yeah, this guy's going crazy about the car right now. But so I got the positive and negative just to test it, hooked it up to a fuse, 10 amp fuse, and then I got it here on ground. And if I turn the ignition, you see we got power. Red and black wire go to positive and negative, and then the white wire is what you're gonna hook up to the headlights. That way you can control the dim at nighttime on the light. They took off the intake pipe because they have to weld a bung to connect something for the transducer that Ash is putting into it to delete the mass airflow sensor. So while they do that, I'm working on the gauge. And what doesn't make sense to me is now I'm doing the gauge. The gauge is hooked up. I ran the wires, hooked up the wires. I haven't hooked up the wires yet. I ran the wires and I got the plug over here. But what doesn't make sense is this is all the wire that I got. And how am I supposed to make this go out to the car and go all the way to the sensor? Because the sensor is way down there in the downpipe. The sensor does have a long plug, but we have to figure that out. I just hope the wire is not too short. Now I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get this to go to the outside. Nicely welded by Aspect to the wastegate. What, are you gonna connect another pipe going down?
We have another flange there, and then I'm gonna use that straight pipe to drop it all the way down.
To the floor?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So while he's working on that, putting everything back together over here, I got all this back on, hooked up the positive and the negative ground. So now I'm putting on the panels. I'm gonna go back to the other side so I can finish putting that side together. The plug is hooked up and goes to the engine bay. We just gotta plug the plug in the engine bay to the plug on the downpipe, the sensor. So here's the wastegate pipe. You can see all the welds that Ash did. He had to cut and re-weld some of this stainless steel piping so we can make it work, but for us to put it on, I had to take the whole wastegate out. So you can see it's here hanging. I gotta take this bolt off so I can get it completely out so we can hook up the pipe and then put the wastegate on and the whole thing together. Got the wastegate pipe on nice and tight. Now I gotta put it back on so that he can make the other piece that goes to the floor. I gotta cut a 12-inch piece. O2 sensor going in.
Okay, bud. Give that a shot.
Yeah. It's really tight. I just hope this plug is long enough. drilled the holes a bit bigger. You guys can see. Here's the straight pipe. He welded it, ready to go in.
I guess I will, I'll swing by sometime tomorrow and bring this back over to you.
Yep. Got the wastegate pipe on, looking sharp. In a perfect position, straight to the floor. So now you should get flames on the bottom of the car. Got the new O2 sensor on, going up. It was perfect length. So everything is good. Skyline is ready to go. So I gotta pull this ECU out so he can go ahead and hook up the NIS tune. This should slide out. There you go. We are gonna be running E85, so we do need to take out all the fuel from the fuel lines and the fuel tank. So I took off this one fuel line up here in the fuel pressure regulator, and it got that pan. Once he gets the NIS tune on it, he's gonna turn on the fuel pump so we can run all the fuel out of it, fill it up with E85, and then start tuning it with the E85. There it is. What is that sensor?
This is the temperature sensor for the speed density translator system. It has to know engine RPM, manifold pressure, and the air inlet temperature in order to calculate what the air mass is going into the engine.
Fuel coming out. Okay, so as we're pushing the fuel out, we were having issues with fuel coming out of the fuel lip rail, and all the fuel injectors were loose. They were all off, so they were all squirting fuel out. So it seems like the brackets were not perfectly flat. Mean as fuck. So to catch you guys up, I'm sure many of you guys are like lost or confused, but we had many issues with the Skyline. We actually did not get it tuned tonight. There was just so many issues and we were trying to solve them all and it was just getting late. So we're gonna wait for tomorrow and hopefully we can get it tuned tomorrow. But for sure the Skyline should be tuned today. Today is Saturday, November 21st. So the Skyline should be getting tuned tomorrow for sure. Ash, the tuner, has been having issues with tuning it because it's been raining. The car is getting street tuned, so we're not going to be at that dyno, so we can't just go to the dyno and tune it. The reason why he wants to do a street tune because he doesn't know what he's going to run into, and he doesn't have his own dyno, so we would have to rent a dyno, so it would take long. We were having many issues such as boost leaks. We had a lot of boost leaks. There were some things that were hooked up incorrectly. As you guys seen, the fuel injectors popped off, the whole fuel rail popped off, all the injectors were leaking fuel, squirting out. The actual sleeves to hold the fuel rail on were too long, and it was actually, both of them were actually like 3/16 of an inch too big, which is a lot. So Ash, he shaved them down and made sure they were completely flat. We were also having issues with the throttle positioning sensor. It was not getting the throttle position. We also had issues with the mass airflow sensor, but Ash did go ahead and delete the mass airflow sensor and he installed his speed density translator and he got that all nice and hooked up. But good news is the Skyline, everything is basically done, completely ready. It's basically just waiting for the rain to stop to go in on the street, get tuned. and we'll be driving him. He'll be on the road. So stay tuned. I'm very excited. Hope you guys are as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys made it to the end, let me know down in the comments. You guys are OG. See you guys in the next one. Peace out, and I'll see you guys then.